Great. Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to Structures of Success. If you guys are not new, maybe you already been here last year to our webinars. If you are new, welcome, and we'll just give you a little introduction of what we do and who we are in a little bit once we have some people here. It's really nice to see some of our clients, some of the internal team as well. We are always trying to explore new subjects and new topics to talk about. So if you guys are clients or professionals or internal team and you want to suggest anything, you're more than welcome to. And we'll just take notes on that and probably work on new webinars. All right. So for those who are new here, we are World Teams. We're an outsourcing company. Basically, what we do is help businesses scale through flexible and remote teams. Some of you guys maybe already are working with us and experience the World Team world, like Diana, like Maria, who are our speakers today. And then maybe some others are just new. So again, you're more than welcome to join us, have a meeting. We'll just talk around and show you what World Teams is about. So just a quick introduction of myself. I'm Malena. I work here in World Teams. I've been in the marketing team for quite some time now, and I'm going to be the moderator for today. This is my first time doing this, so you might see that I'm a little bit nervous if I make any mistakes, any pronunciation errors, or anything like that. Let's just pretend that it was intentional and let's just all laugh about it. So again, this is our Structures of Success webinar. And for this month, we decided to do a women edition, basically because it's Women's History Month. And we just decided, thank you, Noah. We just decided to have two of our amazing clients here who at the same time are business owners. So we're just gonna talk a little bit about their experience and their journey as business owners and team leaders as well. So, ladies, I just don't want to steal a lot of your time. I would love to introduce you as well, but I don't want to miss anything. So I'll let you introduce yourself. So you guys can tell us a little bit about you, about your business, and I'll just add a little fun fact at the end if you guys want to tell us what else would you be doing if you were not an architect. That would be great. So Maria, you can start, and then Diana, you go next.
Okay, I'm Maria Volkman. I'm an architect in Los Angeles. I'm a licensed architect in Los Angeles. I've been living here for past 15 years. Originally, I'm Serbian, from Southern Europe, Balkans. I studied my undergrad there. I left in 2000. We had a lot of political turmoil, bombing, wars and so on. So I just kind of got sick of it and moved to Czech Republic, where I did my master's for free because I learned the language as I went to school. Then I married an American and ended up in Los Angeles just for 2 years, but 15 years later, I'm still here. I'm a mother of two. I'm a single mother of two. I run my office from Los Angeles, but I also have a sister office where it all started, which is Prague. I have two partners there, men, and I'm the only partner here in Los Angeles. We share marketing platform, we share projects, we share concepts, but we are basically independent offices. Like we run financially independently, and marketing-wise, we just join forces to kind of get better clients, and also we share the teams. So my path has been kind of around, clickety click, a couple of countries, offices, private business, office again, private again, my own business. I am much better working for myself just because of my schedule, money, of course, also creativity. I'm not really good with authority. And I'm also like really independent when I want to do stuff. So that's why I'm here, like doing my own thing.
Great. If you were not an architect, what would you be doing right now?
I was supposed to be veterinarian.
Okay.
That's what I was supposed to be, but I don't love
Great.
blood. I don't like blood and like just general, general feeling of, like kind of sickness and diseases. So I gave up on being a vet. But that's like for a long, long time. I just wanted to be a veterinarian.
That's great. Perfect. All right, Diana. So we want to hear about yourself now.
All right. Well, thank you, Maria. It's kind of hard to follow up Maria and all the great, journey that she's had. So I'm Diana Giraldo. I am originally from Colombia, South America. I moved to the United States in 1999. So I've been in the United States longer than I have been in my native country. So I moved to the United States, I came to study English and I never left. So it's kind of trying to figure it out, like seeing the opportunities that were available to me, kind of building the American dream. And, as a single mom, my son is actually turning 30 tomorrow. As a single mom, being able to just navigate the world and be able to provide for myself and my son and those of us that have families and kind of had to figure life out. It was a very interesting experience. I lived in Louisiana. It's funny because I went to Louisiana State University to learn English, and everybody said, Louisiana. If you know Louisiana and a little bit of the language and how they speak, it was very interesting. I relocated to Florida in 2007, and I started working for government, thinking that I was going to change the world by working in government. So that wasn't true. I started my own consulting business. Well, it's like you're trying, like I see all the issues with the regulations, and it's like I'm trying to fix them, but it wasn't me that was supposed to do that. It's the elected officials' leadership. So I left, started my own consulting business, kind of have been in the world of trying to figure it out, what was my best fit. And I started my company, Community Development Reimagined, in 2020. It is we specialize in sustainable architecture, green building certifications, energy, and all of the incentives that work around that. Urban design, placemaking, and all that are, I'm super passionate about that. And, one of the fun and interesting things is that because I wanted to change the world, in November of last year, I became, aside having my business, I'm in the city council of the city of Fort Myers, where I live. So I am also an elected official, so I get to change the world for the better.
That is great. I love that. You guys have great answers. So I'm already looking forward to the webinar, honestly. I'm really sure you have like inspiring stories, and I just wanted everyone to listen to those stories. But before we move on, and just to like set the tone of the talk, I would like to know if you guys could express or describe your journey in just one word, what would be that word and why?
For me,
I
it's
see you
roller
guys are
coaster.
thinking.
For me, it's roller
Roller
coaster.
coaster. All right.
Roller coaster, definitely. Roller coaster. Or a labyrinth. Or a labyrinth. And I'm still in it. I'm still in the labyrinth.
Yeah, you know what,
Makes
Maria?
sense.
I thought about the same thing. It's like say it in one word, and I thought roller coaster because this is not linear, but the ups are great, but the downs teach us so much. But my word will be resilience.
All right.
All
That's
You go
right.
to the roller coaster,
I like
and when you
that.
go down and you get back up, is the resilience that keeps us going.
Sometimes I think like, this work has been like a really toxic love affair, when you're so in love and like, you're so high and things are like so amazing and you're kicking it. And then like, he doesn't call you the next day and like, or nobody calls you the next day. And then like, the lows are really low. And then 2 days later, there's something again happening really big, really huge. You're right there, but then it doesn't happen again. Or it happens,
Yeah.
and like on the random Tuesday afternoon at 3:15, it's like it's been a roller coaster.
I love it.
I see a lot of people saying, yes, you guys are right. That is definitely a roller coaster. You are actually kind of stealing my word because I was going to, one of my next questions was, just being a business owner, it's not a linear path, right? It's actually a roller coaster when you're just like holding on for your life. So do you guys remember any specific moment or any specific situation where you were like, okay, this is going on, I have this problem, I need to get out of this, and like what was the way or what was the strategy that you guys used for that?
Patience for me, it's like, you whenever there is a moment where you kind of, you had enough. I usually have a game plan, and then that game plan has a path how to get there. And like, I have to employ that patience, which I don't have generally. And then once I have a game plan and like, kind of have that patience set, then I can get out of it. I'm calm, and things do happen. And also like, communication is really important to get out of stuff. Really, really
Hmm.
important, like, not to hurry,
Absolutely.
not to say things, wait until like a lot of things happen because you react. A lot, like 90% of people of things just like disappear if you don't react. So and they like, because I've been like in the beginning of my career, I would see things, like I would react and things would like turn out like really, really bad, and like you don't even know how it started, like how it started doesn't really matter anymore. But so like I learned patience. Like I think patience is really, really important.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think that when we are in the space, especially not just as a business owner, but just kind of running projects, uh, giving it space, like sleep
Yeah.
on it. And I can, my friends call me a fiery Latina. So I used to
Yeah,
be
I'm
like, huh,
Serbian. You're Serbian. Tell me,
yeah.
like we started all the wars. It's like I'm
Yeah.
like one, two, three.
So it's like you pounce like a cat and it's like, oh. So it's just kind of having that emotional reaction. But I think that with time, as we grow and mature as people, as humans, I always kind of go back to when I was younger, how I reacted and how I approach things and how I do it now. And I think that kind of having that bank of not just resilience and kind of having a plan, but really working on ourselves to be calm, to be centered, work on our emotional intelligence, and surrounding ourselves with people that, I mean, we can say we have a ton of friends, but really, I call people in my kitchen cabinet, and it's my cabinet of trust sources, right? Other business owners that are not in the same space that I am, or leaders of organizations that I'm involved in, and being able to bounce things off of them, because there is no one size fits all, but learning to give a situation space. Sometimes we remove the emotion, right? And as the days go by, but things kind of resolve on their own. But being
Exactly.
able to bounce off of people, and you learn from one experience and then is the other. And so one of the things that I like to do is kind of having my kind of like my personal plan for the year and a business plan. And when situations come across, it's like if I left something behind, maybe for the next year, I need to think about how I'm going to approach those particular situations.
Right. Yeah, it makes all the sense, honestly. And um, as you guys were talking and answering, another question came to my mind. How did you guys learn about this? How did you learn that having patience? Did you learn that by yourself, or did you have like some kind of mentor that you learned this from?
I think that
I
falling on my face, that's how I learn.
I actually learned from somebody. When I came to the States and I started working in a company, that was my first job. Like, I came from Prague to US. I had to get a job, right? Because I knew nobody here. So I started working for Barton Myers and I got to run my own project. And they trusted me that much that they gave me free hands, like, to run it, to talk to everybody. Although I had no experience in US and I had only 5 years experience in Europe. But like, the project I had and so on kind of put me in a good role. Project wasn't like huge. It was manageable. So he let me run it. But my project manager was always like watching, like, my reactions. And then, like, the mail would come and he would see me like he was sitting behind me from the way my body moves. Like, he would be like, Maria, stop. And I'm like, we are not answering this email. I'm like, I am going to answer this email. He's like, you're not going to answer this email. We're going to wait. I'm not waiting, So it was like he actually did mentor me in patience and in, like, stop answering, stop being like the boss, like just kind of let things dissipate, like if I react now, things are going to become worse. But, like, if I don't react, nothing happens. And, like, a couple of instances show me that he's right. So I just, like, kept on using it, and it's actually really good.
Right. This, yeah, I don't know there. Oh, there we go. Something just happened.
Something happened. Yeah, something happened.
What about you, Diana? You just said that you kind of learned your own way, right?
So when I worked in government, I always, well, I'm super geeky, so I'm always like top performer doing this and doing that. And I remember one time I responded to an email. My boss trusted me, just like Maria said, my boss trusted me to do what it was right. I sent this email and I put it all a bunch of it was a note for the client to know, or the company to know that these were specific steps they could not miss, and it was in bold capital letters. Well, I got called to the principal's office, and he's like, "You never send an email like that." And I mean, this is like probably 15 years ago. You never send emails like that. It's kind of like you're screaming at people, and I'm like, I just wanted to make sure that that was one of the most important things they couldn't forget. Well, so I kind of got called out, and I'm like, oh, I was in my own head thinking that I was doing something great. So it has been kind of falling on my face after I do something, but having someone that kind of says, well, we understand what you were trying to do. This is the perception of people. And I think that as we're maturing into being adults and growing, with time, we learn more and more is just understanding that, we can be in control of ourselves, but when we do stuff like that, what are the consequences? So just kind of stepping outside yourself and just making sure that you're not doing something that can cause some damage, I guess, in a way.
Yeah.
I also have,
yeah,
I have
I
a
think
tip. Like, I have a tip. What I do now is, like, when I write an angry email, I put it in ChatGPT and I just ask him to write it less angry, and to make it like super polite, and then, like, in that way, I don't actually have to do it myself, and I can that benefit of, like, getting it out. But I'm actually not sending angry emails, but, like, I have, like, I have both benefits, both of getting the emotions out, but also getting a nice email out, so I'm like, I've been using ChatGPT recently for that, if things are kind of, I don't have many bad situations, usually, but sometimes,
right.
things do happen.
It happens. I think it's part of, having your own business or just leading your team. So Christine is saying ChatGPT is a very cool trick. I use it also to create message with urgency and empathy, for sure. It is a really big tool right now.
Yes.
And we actually had one customer saying that, those businesses that would embrace AI and embrace outsourcing are going to be the businesses of the future. So I think that we are in the right path, hopefully. All right, guys. So this is something that I should have asked before or earlier today, but I kind of want to go back to the beginning. What was So we are 18 years old. We kind of have to make the decision for the rest of our life. What are we gonna do? What are we gonna work? Or, I don't know, like kind of trying to figure your own life just when you're 18 again, which is crazy. Maria, you already said that you wanted to be a veterinarian, but what was the final decision that actually made you said, okay, yes, architecture is for me, and this is what I want to do for the rest of my life?
I mean, I like, it was I ran with a bunch of like creative kids in high school, like, like musicians and like artists and so on. All of us were kind of getting ready to enter like Academy of Art or like, anything creative. But I'm also really good at math. So like, I have a very logical brain. I'm very like nerdy, like everything has to make sense. I'm not on a spectrum, but like sometimes I act like I am. Things do have to be very like, like 1 and 1 is 2. Everything is math for me. I see like shapes everywhere. Like that's how I live. And then like, kind of there were people in my group that were getting ready for architecture. They were a little bit older. Like I was maybe 15 or 16, and these people in my group were like 17, 18, getting ready, to get into architecture school. I was like, okay, this kind of seems like this speaks to my brain. Like there is creativity involved, but there is also geometry. Like, you're kind of, there is also this kind of heroic attitude about architecture. We are kind of somehow fixing something in society. There is a way to kind of, make your mark in the world, either by, working on urbanism or on certain buildings and so on like, schools. There's that heroic approach that you kind of always have, or like idealistic approach that you have when you're like in your teens. So I was like, okay, this kind of makes sense. I started getting ready for architecture. Some of the friends didn't get in. I did. We stopped being friends because they didn't want to be friends with me because I'm like in school now, they're not. So I just kind of came there because somebody else introduced architecture to me as an idea, and it kind of spoke to me. Nobody's an architect in my family. Nobody has anything to do with like construction in my family. They're like, either in finance or like business owners, like in terms of restaurants and so on. So we have and we don't have any artists in the family either. So it was like really kind
Right.
of like I told my parents like I want to study architecture, and they were like,
Why?
where did that come from? Where did that come from? Yeah, but they of course supported me because they always supported everything I did. So they're like, okay, what do you need to do? What do we need to do to support you? So in Serbia, you have to get ready for architecture school for a year. We go to like certain people that get us ready. You have to learn how to draw. You have to like, learn about like history of art, history of architecture, because we have talent tests and we have math tests and kind of general education tests. So these people are getting you ready for school. It's like twice a week for 4 hours for a whole year. So they paid for that. And like, that's how I started. That was when I was like, yeah, 17. So I've been in this since I was 17, basically.
Nice. Perfect. What about you,
So
Diana?
for me, I was hanging out with I used to go to poetry. I used to hang out with artists. I was the one painting murals at school, and I got in a lot of trouble too because I went into an only girls Catholic school, and they would let me paint the murals in like a canvas and just kind of hang it anywhere in the school. Well, they just thought I was just kind of way out of the norm for that. And I wanted to be an artist. Actually, I had put in to get a degree in philosophy and arts. And then my parents said, well, we understand and you embrace that. And to the world of the artist, you kind of have to be in that world of the artist. I was the second person in my family to go to college. And they're like, we're not in that network, not like just the, middle income family and stuff like that. So we started going down the path, like what careers, what opportunities were there that were kind of aligned with the arts and philosophy and all these things. And architecture is kind of like that love, like it's kind of, it kind of had that connection from a different place where we could be the I guess the catalyst of something where art and humans kind of come together. So that's kind of how I end up in it. My parents kind of lovingly, they said, we don't want you to be a starving artist. And that sounds kind of cruel, but but it worked out in the end.
It was the same thing for me. I studied films. So my parents were like, if you want to starve, just go ahead. If that's gonna make you happy, then it's your choice. Guys, I want to talk about leadership. You have your account managers and you talk with them every single month or every single time that you need something. And our professionals talk with their core coaches as well. We have monthly meetings, but they also text a lot and everything. And I'm happy to say, and I'm glad to say that they are actually really happy working with you and with the work environment. And actually, I think Camila Vanini is somewhere over here, but
I'm
they're
here.
like super happy sharing the day to day with you guys. So, there we go. So Cami is working with Diana for quite some time now, and I'm right, Cami, right? You're happy with working with the team and everything. So, kind of my question kind of goes to how do you guys create that environment where actually the worldies or the professionals feel comfortable, not only our professionals, but the office, because it's not easy to find a place where you guys where we feel comfortable working at, especially in a remote world when you just don't get to share the day-to-day office dynamic with the rest of the team, right? That's kind of hard when we work remotely. So I just want to know how you guys create that environment and work with that day to day.
I mean, I've been remote for last like 12 years, like even before the remote became the thing. Uh, for me, um, for me, it's like I don't really care when you do your job. I just need you to do it, right? So I'm not controlling in terms of like, I like, things to, I like people to be responsive and to let me know when things are going to happen, but I don't need people sitting in the office or doing things like, at a certain time. I think it's more about the output. And I think people like work better. I work better when there's no pressure and when I can make my own time. And sometimes like I just don't want to work. I want to go to the gym. So I kind of take that to other people too that work for me. I think most important is to have things done and for me to clearly relay when the deadlines are. So as long as we are meeting deadlines, I really don't care when you work.
Mm-hmm.
you know like quality and meeting the deadline is important. If we have a deal, like, you have to respond to me within a certain time frame and so on, that's fine. We do WhatsApp a lot. I'm very responsive. So I mean, I think, like, kind of giving people responsibility to manage their own time and to manage their own projects, it's really important. And I think that important that inspires people and give them, like, um, they give better output. When I was working in the offices where the things are controlling, I mean, people are expected just to sit there, the atmosphere was toxic. And I just don't want to
Yeah.
work in a toxic environment. Like, I don't want to create it, but I also want to be part of it. Like, I don't want to be a creator of it, but I also don't want to be in it. So that's how I like deal with everything I do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So for me, I have and Camila and Agostina, I think she's also here. They're my two worldlies, and it is. I'm all about the human interaction. We have created moments where we can share, like, so every Monday I try to send a little inspirational message to try to kick off the week. I want people to feel inspired to work and be happy in the work environment, even though we're remote. When there are challenges, or for example, this year, every year I have a strategic plan, and the strategic plan is for the company, but I don't want to sit there and just create a plan for myself. This is what I think, but allowing them to have that opportunity to be part of the feedback, because they're in their worlds independently of trying to supporting what we're trying to get accomplished with the company. But it's kind of like a work family. So having them be part of the journey, being able to connect as humans. We've had done little games and little exercises. I know that. And I tell them, I said, you can get caught up in the everyday thing and the everyday stuff and not kind of reconnect with us as people. So I asked the other day, I said, Camila, we just kind of haven't gone, like, January went on, February was kind of, we were like halfway through February. I said, your job for tomorrow's meeting is you got to come up with a game for us to interact and just learn something about each other. So in the understanding our private lives without intruding into each other's lives, but understanding that our challenges, the way we look at life, it really, for me, is creating that connection that otherwise we can't because we're in different places. But I think is also is that appreciation of that connection. And like Maria said, I mean, I'm a type A personality. We got things that we gotta get done. I don't care what you do, just get them done. If you don't have, this is what I say, if I ask you for something and I don't give you enough direction or you're confused, ask me. Don't wait until a week after to ask me how, because I don't like that. So it's having very good communication. We're always up to speed. We have project meetings, project tracking meetings. We check in with each other most every day for at least 15 or 30 minutes. We talk about random stuff. I talk about my dog's barking, whatever it is. So I don't know if you
Yeah,
guys heard the
it's all
bark
about
just
team
now.
bonding.
So
It's all
to
about
me,
team
that feels
bonding. Yeah.
important. Yeah, the communication, the bonding, and being able to be happy with the work that we do, and for us to feel that we're part of something greater. Because I could not do a lot of the stuff that I'm doing right now without their support.
Oh, that's so nice to hear. I want to share two messages here that we had from our clients at Bertolami, which we love. We asked all employees to share a little bit of their life with a short presentation. This was awesome to bring together our team. I totally agree. We actually, your account managers can help you with that to like craft ideas or maybe team bonding ideas, meetings, any kind of game, basically, just to like get together more and more. And then she also added, also do short check-ins with how people are doing, make sure everyone has a voice. And I think that it's what you were just saying, Diana. I feel like that is key, really, communication. It's all about that. Um, so we going back to the Women's History Month, we are in the early months of 2025. A lot of things have changed for women, but a lot of things have to still be changed, right? So my next question is, how do you guys see the role of women in the architecture industry, and where would you like to take these roles for the next couple of years?
I mean, it's really, really hard question because we also have like, it's very, like we have different, I think we have like different paths or different places, that we have. I think, being a woman in architecture is really hard. It's still hard just because it's a man's world, and like very often when I come to construction site, it's all men and I'm the only woman. So I think like I don't feel disrespected ever, like quite contrary. I think like being a woman in this job also has like it also has its own benefits. I think in future it would be really good to allow women to have more flexibility, so they can actually raise families, because being an architect, staying over in offices until like 8 or 9 or having like really crazy hours, it's not necessary. And I think allowing women to actually have a balance between I mean, everybody, not just women, but women are like taking the grunt of child rearing. I think that is the part that was always missing. I felt in the office is like there was no like there's nothing that kind of gives you a leeway on having kids. And I used to be I was working on a project in my 20s, and there was a really famous Czech architect that was consulting on the project, and she was already in her 50s. Like, she worked a lot, she was very famous, she worked during communism, in Czech Republic. And we asked her, how did you do your career, and still had kids? And she's like, I would just be in the office, work really hard, and like go home at 4. But she didn't do any lunches, didn't do any drinking, didn't do any bonding with her
Right.
team. She didn't have that opportunity. So she was just working. It was like work, family, work, family. And I think it's still like that for a lot of women.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think on the current challenges and where we are, and I agree with Maria. This is mostly is dominated by men. This the community development really industry, the development industry is dominated by men. I have had a lot of challenges with that. I think that as I get mature, I'm more of like I'm not asking, I'm not, I'm just telling them how it's going to be and they can take it or not. But this is that non-negotiable because we all show up at the table and we all deserve that level of respect. So the people who know me or the people that I engage in business with, and even my clients, my old-time clients, they know that about me. I think that when people get to understand that, like our intelligence, I mean, we're all intelligence, we're all capable, driven humans, and there is no need to put anyone in any tier. We get to overcome that. So I used to be kind of subconscious about that because I had like really ugly experiences, like men saying you should be home cooking and ironing your husband's clothes and things like that. And I'm like, and I would not know what to say. Like, did they just say that to me? Just kind of harsh conversations. And so I used to take them personally, and now I'm like, they really wish they had someone at home to do that for them. That's when they're throwing it at me. I think that
Right.
where we'd like to take our roles, being in this world and particularly in the industry that I'm in, which is the sustainable architecture and resiliency and all of that. I think that we are nurturers. And one of the things that I find challenging, and I had a meeting with a client earlier, and we were talking about how what I want to see change and the opportunity for our roles is to bring the human element back to how we're developing our cities. And the reason why I say that is because I don't know how long it's been, but in the world of development, value engineering projects has really taken over quality of design. And I'm not saying for all architects, but the civil engineers kind of value engineering something. They want what they want. A lot of what they do is based on regulation. People say, well, it was designed by an engineer, but they've designed for regulation in such a way that the room for creativity gets squeezed, and we forget that we're designing for people, that the human element and how we're developing our communities is about creating the social interactions, to creating livable communities that thrive, that help people thrive, and regardless of your age, that people can commute, can transport themselves, that you're providing access to services to our communities, open space and trees and stuff like that. I think that we as women have the opportunity to shed light on how we can create better communities and take that back from value engineering to just the human ingenuity and thriving places.
Absolutely. I want to share some messages that you guys have been throwing here in the chat, and I feel like they are super interesting. So
I
we
think
have a
when
question, but I'm going to save that for the end. Yeah. So first of all, one was saying, I find contractors do enjoy working with women. As an engineer, all my contractors know I'm responsive and support them. I feel like that is super interesting and really important as well. And then Jennifer was saying, I have had mixed experience where I was embarrassed as a project lead, and other times, especially in certain parts of the US, where unfortunately some contractors would not acknowledge my presence. It has been a balancing act to know when to be strong, direct, and also soft.
Yeah,
Jennifer, do you want to
okay,
share
just a
your
second.
experience? Oh, sorry, Maria, go ahead.
I mean, like, I think we all had it, we all had those sort of, like, when you walk, like, I worked on a project in Israel, and, like, engineers there, they wouldn't, like, shake hands of women, and we are all leads. You walk into the room and, like, they don't acknowledge you, but, like, that is really not my problem. I'm not there to be accepted by them, or kind of be acknowledged by them. I'm there to do the project, you know. And I'm the lead. Like, you have to take me as a partner because that's what it is, you know. And I'm fine without my authority. I don't really like need to prove my ego. If they do have like, so my approach is more like soft and through humor. I do a lot through humor. You know, I do like a lot. You know, I'll crack jokes. I'll call somebody out. Like, we all laugh. Like, I call myself out a lot. Like, you know, I kind of soften. I'm more for softening the situation. But then when decisions are, and I have to make decisions, it's really clear that I'm the one making the decisions, you know? And like, you know, and I can be direct, you know, it's like, are you going to stamp this? You know, this is not how we do it. It was like, do you have a stamp? Are you going to stamp this? No. There's no
Yeah.
reason for you, like, but I'm also like taking people as partners. Like, my GCs are always my partners, and I talk to them like that way, you know, because they have to do, like, I'm not responsible for means and methods. It's like, I want this like this, how do we achieve it in the best possible way, and also so things doesn't leak, right? So I need you to give me an input. There is no way on me going to the construction site and pretending I know better than the guy that is installing windows. I don't. And I'm not pretending I do. So he's my partner, and I ask him questions. I ask him all the questions that I don't know, and I need answers so I can make a decision. But I'm a decision maker because I'm an architect. But everybody has an input. And I think people really, really appreciate that I'm not walking into the site like, I know everything. I'm a designer. Like, everybody's doing what I do. Like, nobody moves. Like, you know, I am not, right? Like, I love my crews. I love my landscaper. Like, I know all their names. Like, I like my, like, you know, guys that are framing, you know, but they're my partners. We are doing this together. And I think men really, really respond to that in a really, 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 really good way. Like, they want to do stuff for women, you know? And like, if
Yeah.
if you present it in that way, it's going to happen. So there is like both. I think if you're not like combative, although you want to be sometimes, it's a better result.
I agree. I agree with that, Maria. As one of the things that humor, and when we have meetings, I tell people is like, you know, we're all going to the same place. So let's make it fun from the beginning. And if you need something, we're very responsive. So it's very humorous, but it's very, we all have our areas of expertise. And when you have that initial meeting and you set the tone for that, you just keep, and I would say, you know, out of 100 projects, we might have like one contractor that's kind of like, they said that they will do this and they do something else. And the conflict arises when people are not really being truthful about certain things.
Yeah.
But having humor and setting the stage from the beginning, we're all going to the same place. We're all going to make this project successful, and we're going to make it happen together.
That's great to hear. When I see you're super active on the chat here, do you want to share your experience or anything that you want to add?
Sure. I think, you know, making sure that you know your stuff before you go out on a job site is super, super important, especially if you're starting out with a new relationship. But, you know, like I said in the chat, once the contractors know that you're trying to help them and that you have their back, they will come to you again and again. I'm a civil engineer, so it's a little bit different than the architecture. I totally acknowledge that. But at the same time, when my contractors know that I'm going to do what I can to save them money, but you know, I got to do what I got to do to make the construction right, and I talk it over with them, I don't shove it down their throat, they really welcome that. And they actually seem to like working with a woman. They talk about some of the other folks that they work with that are don't actually listen and don't actually engage. And I've gotten many contractors who are now basically devoted to us because they know that we respond to them.
It makes all the sense. And I love to hear that. Jennifer, I see that you're nodding nonstop. Anything that you want to add as well?
I unfortunately am not on the architectural or engineering side. I'm more on the development and the construction side, owner's rep side of things. I grew up in this industry. I've been doing this now for about 20 plus years, started off 18 and worked my way up in the ranks from home remodeling into development and management. For me, I've been in the trenches with the guys in the field a lot more. and across state lines and doing natural disaster relief. So I do come across, unfortunately, a lot of aggressive men. And you're absolutely right. Coming in and showing beyond my presence, this is the knowledge I bring to the table. This is the team effort and the team building, and we're all in this together makes a big difference. And I definitely want to stress that to all the women on this platform, that having your voice is important, and really doing your homework and understanding your trade and your discipline and what you're walking into makes the biggest difference. Because the truth of the matter is, at least for me in my experience, I've had to study more. I've had to research more, had to come with more solutions and be more open-minded and creative. I had to really, quote unquote, earn my seat at the table and earn my voice. So I definitely want to encourage that to a lot of the women on this platform, especially the younger generation. It's beautiful that you guys have a lot more opportunities than we did at my generation coming into this. Women are a lot more embraced in the industry, especially in construction, than what they used to be.
Yeah, I love to hear that, because that is actually the ultimate goal of this, right? To like empower new generations. There's actually a question that Isabella dropped before she left, and she was kind of asking for an advice. I'm gonna move into that in a little bit, but before I do, there's a really nice comment for you, Maria, where it says, "I adore your attitude, Maria. Humor also works well for me, and everyone is an important part of the team." So I love that.
Thank you.
So Isabella was asking for an advice. She was saying, what's the one piece of advice you'd give your 23-year-old self starting in a male-dominated field like architecture?
Get a mentor. Get a mentor. Glue yourself to the mentor. Ask the mentor everything. Don't be arrogant like I was, thinking I know everything and I'm smarter because I'm just cocky, and like, and people are pushing me to do things like because I am cocky. That's not gonna work. Like my first project on my own, we were doing the I mean, not one of the first projects, like a bigger project, important project. We did the entry for the mobile company, one of the 3 mobile companies in Czech Republic. We did their entry to the building, like interiors. We had some crazy glass, and there was so many like people involved and so on. I spent 160 hours on the phone. Just on the phone that 1 month, because they were paying my phone, so I knew, like 160 hours. I bet that 120 of those hours were like me trying to figure out things that like I wouldn't have to figure out if I wasn't that green, or if I actually had somebody to guide me. It's like, not having a mentor was like running 10 circles. I would figure it out, but like, the sheer force that I put into figuring stuff out was unnecessary. Get a mentor, get somebody you can check in with.
Yeah.
People want to help. People want to help young people that have fire, that want to do things. Get a mentor, ask this person everything, check in, find solutions, but don't do things on your own. Don't learn your own. It's a waste of time.
I love that.
It's a waste of time.
I love that.
Yeah.
Mentors are always a great advice, and I feel like I'm super proud that you guys are saying that, because I feel like our professionals are having the best mentorships with you as well. So that is super inspiring as well.
Yeah, I would say mentoring is very important. I think that being curious about different things, right? Like staying relevant, like reading, studying, being curious about what potential for growth that you have in a particular industry. Networking. And one of the things that I learned early on in networking is like when you're networking with the same people and you're not pushing yourself to learn something new and evolve, you're going to get stale. And so I used to go networking and do a lot of things when I was younger, but I wasn't going anywhere because we're all same age, same kind of groups of people. Everybody's kind of like aimless. And that's not particularly your mentor, but you kind of when you're younger, you feel like your peers, your friends are your mentors. And until I found someone that I reached out to her and I said, it's someone that randomly wrote something in a newspaper. And I sent her an email and I said I was very inspired, but and I just emailed her out of like the blue, right? Oh, I looked her up, I emailed her and I said, I really enjoyed reading your piece and this was so amazing. And let me tell you why it made me feel the way it did. And she emailed me back and she said, would you like to have coffee with me? And I'm like, what?
Of course.
And guess what? I had coffee with her and she became one of my mentors. She's not in the field of architecture, but she is a terrific leader, national speaker. I mean, and she saw that my curiosity and all that really kind of got her attention. And guess what? She's now one of my friends. And I said earlier, I call people in your cabinet. It's kind of having your group of trusted friends. She's in my kitchen cabinet. She's my Cheerios in my kitchen cabinet. And that's one of the most amazing things. And, she's much older than me. She can be my mom, but it's the wealth of experience really to navigate and create the connections that we want. So, you
Absolutely.
become connected to other people through that journey.
Mhm.
If I may,
Yeah,
can
I love that. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I just wanted to, I couldn't help jump in
No,
on
I
this one.
love when you guys participate, so don't be sorry.
I, as I mentioned, I quickly grew from construction into development. I had no real estate development experience whatsoever. I didn't know cap rates, highest and best use, land use, egress, ingress. I didn't know any of that. I came from home remodeling. But I quickly found myself in a COO position for a major developer out of Los Angeles, running his entire business for him and being his eyes and ears. So it forced me into a position to have to study, learn, analyze, and become an expert in almost every field. So one of the things that I'd love to share is Google is your friend. Google your heart out, break the internet and research. The more stuff you can find, it helps. I've now mastered appraisals and highest and best use. I've gone against the city in eminent domain cases, and that's all by studying. The second thing is it's not only for me paying attention to the people that did things the right way, it's also paying attention to the people who did things the wrong way and learning from their experiences what to do, what not to do, and how to maneuver your way around it. It's not always a simple ABC fix and a step 1, 2, 3. Sometimes thinking outside the box and really stepping outside the situation and looking at the overall picture will give you a lot of different perspective. And like people are saying on here, asking people in your industry for advice and guidance. There are a lot of people who don't want to teach you, unfortunately, because there's a lot of competition and a lot of egos, and that's the hard part, kind of filtering through that. But when you find people and you find someone that really is wanting to help you grow and see you grow as an individual and as a profession, they really do become a strong ally for you. I've worked really hard, the team that I've worked with throughout the years in different either assistants or interns, that I tell them, if you walk out of this office in a few months and you haven't grown at all, then I've failed you. That means that I'm not giving you the tools that you need. And sometimes coming into, let's say, in this position A, may not really be what you really get excited about. There's so many different avenues and venues in real estate development and construction and design and engineering. Be open to looking at different venues of professions, because there's so many different ways you can go, and finding that niche for you that really makes your eyes sparkle is really going to be that driving force, and you'll see a difference in yourself as well too.
Mm-hmm. I love hearing that. I'm feeling empowered already, I have to say. So Jennifer was saying, I completely agree with you, Jennifer and Maria. Knowing your field is important, and having a mentor helps tenfold. And Dina is saying, Diana, you are the kindest ever. I hope I can visit you again. I want to visit you. I want to visit all of you, honestly.
Come on over.
Does anybody else have any other question? We will. Does anybody else have any other question, or I don't know, something that you guys want to share? You're more than welcome to. Luna was saying, what's one way we can encourage more women to take on leadership roles in architecture? Oh, that's a good one.
I think like no fear, like, and to be aware that we have a seat at the table, like you have an education. Like, so example, when I came to the office here in US, my first office I started working, there were about 3 women and 10 men. Out of 10 men, 3 knew how to do their job right. Like they were like, they were good architects. They knew how to do their job. They were really good with running projects. Rest of the 7, they were like showing up, kind of doing whatever. 3 women, they were all good. And with that, we work harder, we are more nerdy, we are more careful, we are, we just do things more precise just because we are afraid we're going to make a mistake and that we are not there. Like, there's that imposter syndrome we're all kind of experiencing. Like, we don't have the confidence men have. And because we don't have that confidence, we overcompensate with our knowledge. So knowing that you have that knowledge, you have a right at that table. And because you're on that table, you have a right to move at the top of that table, slowly, or more fast. You don't have to be aggressive. There are ways to do it, but like we do have a right to lead. Why not? We are growing humans. My body produced two humans. I am actually teaching these humans to become adults and to be participating in this world. Why wouldn't I be running the house, building the house? What is the house compared to the human? This is what we as women are allowed, and this is what our role is, like, to nurture and to grow and to like deal with other humans. So like, being in architecture, building houses, it's really not that big of a deal, when you compare to your like, kind of role that you might have. I'm not saying that everybody should have children, but like, coming from that spot and kind of looking at the spot where you should be, like, you have a right to lead. You just have.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
You're absolutely
agree.
right.
Yeah, and that is 100% true. I think that the other part is that if we want to grow in any part of our lives, in leadership, as an architect, whatever it is, if we're not scared, then we're not doing it right, right? Because then everything is easy. There's nothing to grow. But when we're scared to jump, when we're scared to do something where there is uncertainty, but you're doing things that are supporting your growth as a person and the greater good for humanity, doing stuff right. That's the only thing that you got to worry about, that we're doing the stuff right, that we're not creating any harm, that we're not doing any of that. But if we're scared because we have to jump into something to be a leader, to grow in our fields, if you're scared, it's because you're doing it right. And who's not nervous? When I left my job in government, it's like, okay, I started my own consulting, and what am I going to do now? You got to learn how to go approach people so you can bring clients. So it's like a scary world. And I can tell you that my experience then and my experience now is like, I made a lot of stupid mistakes. But I learned by jumping, right, into the world. When I started my own business, I jumped into it. And was I scared? Yes, I was. But if you get to figure it out, and that makes you a better leader.
I was talking to Eva Jirzicna. She's a Czech architect. She's actually like really known in the world also. She started her career, her independent career, when she was in her 50s. She was like, before that, she was building for somebody, like being an architect, lead architect, big apartment buildings and so on. And all of a sudden she started her own office at 50, and she had a small apartment in London. And she's like, I was scared shitless to like demo that wall. I was so scared after 30 years in architecture, working for somebody else. Now I'm finally working on my own. We're talking about Eva Jirzicna. That is like now like world famous architect. She was scared shitless. I'm sorry about my language, to knock down one wall in her 50s.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry, guys, to like cut you off. We have another event that we have to start in 1 minute, but this was super interesting. I'm not even kidding when I'm saying I feel empowered already, and I really hope everybody here just leaves this meeting with a little bit more of empowerment and just more determination to do whatever you guys want to do. I really want to thank Maria and Diana for being our mentors today, and for inspiring us every single day. And I also want to thank everyone who assisted today. Again, I really hope you guys take something out of this, and I hope to see you on the next Structures of Success. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you
everybody.
all so much, and I'll see you around.